wanted to show you the alternate assignment for Unit 3, Lesson 4 for slope. The link is on our landing page under 8th Math Resources, or you could just search Delta Math on Google. All right, we've already created an account, so you're going to log in, not here, but with Google with your iSchool email. Oops. There we go. And here's my school account. Of course, mine is a teacher account, so yours is actually going to look like this when you log in. So first things first, you'll go to the one that you're looking for, Unit 3, Lesson 4. And each of these is a bank of questions. So I want you to look. Today, I've been helping students. So I've actually done 6 problems out of the 3 required. So you only have to do 3. Notice it'll let you do more than enough. Only do your questions until you get a check mark, and then you go to the next section. So let me click this one to show you. I think this is a lot easier than doing the assignment just for virtual learning because they want you to draw a line representing the rise and the run. So you have to click twice to plot the segment. So first, you're going to start by hovering over your blue line. Notice how it's not on the line. It won't let me click on that spot. The reason why is it's not at an intersection point. So I'm looking for one that is directly on, there's one. You see how that's right at the intersection. You're looking for a cross and for the blue line to be right at the intersection point. And so that will allow me to click it. So it will guide you to selecting your points. So this one will work. I'm going to look for one more. This one will work. Okay, once you have a plan, you're going to click once to do a dot. And then we always want to do the rise first. And we're going to go up and click again. That represents the rise. The run is left, right, like you run on the street, horizontal. And so we're trying to go to this point. Remember, this is the one I chose. Actually, it might have been that one. It doesn't matter. This is the one I chose now because that's the one I noticed when I was doing the dots. Okay, so I'm headed here. So what I want to do is click the dot and then click it again on the line. That represents the run. So the rise is 2. The run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How I check this is I want to look where my orange segment is. I had to go from a -3 to a +5. So from 3 to -3 to 5, I have to go 3 units to get to 0 and 5 more for a total of 8. So 8 was correct for the run. And you can check it the same way here. I've gone from a -6 to a -4 vertically. So that's 2. So my rise is 2 and my run is 8. So 2 over 8. I'm going to show you what I'm thinking here. The way we type the fraction on our keyboard is 2/8. The slash is next to shift. So find your shift key, and it's usually on the same key as the question mark. All right, so 2/8 is going to represent it. Now, this is not reduced. So this one is easy to reduce, but I want to build on using the calculator to check ourselves. If you need to check reducing a fraction, 2 divided by 8 is 0.25. Remember, you can go to math, enter to get the answer changed to a fraction, and it will reduce it for you. So you can be sure that you reduce it correctly. So 2/8 divided by 2 becomes 1/4. So we want to make sure the answer is fully simplified before we submit. Oh, I got a check mark. All right, so I get to go to the next problem. You're going to do the same thing. I'll do this a little bit faster. Here is our first point that we're going to use, and then you're going up, and there's the next one. Okay, so I'm going to do the rise, and then I'm going to click twice for the run. And here I am at -7, and I'm going to -4. The difference there is 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so my rise is 3. I'm going to go ahead and write that down so I don't forget. 3/. Okay, the run, I'm going from 4 to a -2. I'm going backward, right? I'm going to the left towards the negatives. And so when you move backward on a number line, it's negative. Okay, I'm going to go backward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've gone backward 5. Now, I just wrote this in here so that I cannot forget. One thing you can also do that we talked about today in the live class is you can count 3 and 5 and know that your slope is 3/5, but before you write your answer, check to see if it's negative or positive. And remember, if you have a skier guy, he's going to stand right here. And from left to right, he's going down the mountain. So this is a negative slope. So you should have one negative for your slope. We never want to leave it negative in the denominator. We always put it out front. You can also just do that. 3 divided by -5, right? And math fraction will reduce it, and it'll show you the format that we're expecting. The negative out front instead of in the denominator. All right, so there's 2 examples there. You must do 3. Go back, and 3 here. What is the slope of the line that passes through these points? Write your answer in simplest form. All right, so we really should have paper for this one. Okay, so -9, -5, and -1, -9. This is good. A lot of them are easier than this question, but this just randomly generated a tricky one. So I want to do one of the hardest types of problems. So what you're going to want to do is shade or circle or highlight the y values, and then you can do the same thing with the x values, just making sure that you don't mix them up as you write them down. Okay, so the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is on any formula chart, so you don't have to memorize it like that. Okay, so we don't have to memorize it that way. The easiest way to remember it, since your curriculum talks a lot about the change in y's over the change in x's. So change in y over the change in x. This is an easy way for you to memorize the formula without having to memorize the actual formula. Okay, so we're going to, I'm going to get this bigger. Go ahead and subtract the y's, subtract the x's, then divide. The key is I have to be consistent. So I'm going to start with the second point just because it's like this formula, and that way, either way, I'll be doing it the way that you're probably doing it. Okay, this is how the formula was derived, with the second point subtracting the first. So I'm going to demonstrate it like that. But you could take the first point and subtract the second as long as you are consistent. So -9 is what I'm going to start with, and I need to subtract -5. So it looks like this. -9, I need to do the change, which is subtracting a -5. Okay, since I started with this one, I need to make sure and start with this one for the x's. So I'm consistent. So I'm going to start with the -1 and subtract the -9. So when you subtract a negative, it becomes a positive. 2 negatives make a positive. Want to memorize that? It makes it so much easier. All right, but we're going to I'll show you how subtract a -5. Even if you put it in, subtract a -5, it's going to be the same as if you go ahead and simplify it, right? So your calculator can help you if you forget any of your integer rules or if you forget that two negatives make a positive. All right, so -9 plus 5. The signs are different, so I'm going to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, so -4. -1 plus 9 is the same as 9 minus 1, so that's 8. Okay, and I can reduce that because I know 4 is half of 8. So if I divide top and bottom by 4, I get -1/2. Let me show you how you can always check and make sure. -1, oh, no, that's the reduced version. -4 divided by 8 is -0.5. If you go to math, enter, it's -1/2. So it's going to always want the reduced fraction. So -1/2 is what I need to put in here. So I'm going to do -1. By the way, the negative is right next to 0 on your keyboard. So -1, and then the backslash is next to shift. So divided by or slash 2, and then we submit. Ooh, there it is. Okay, I got it right. And then here it shows you with color, and you can check yourself, make sure you know what you're doing. All right, oops. Wanted to do one more. Okay, so another example here. Let's look at the problem first. Okay, what is the slope of the line that passes through the points 6, 2 and -18, 2? So, write your points down. 6, 2, -18, 2. And I want you to highlight or circle or color the y values and the x values. So we are going to do the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So change in y over change in x. So I'm going to start with 2, and I'm going to subtract 2. Since I started with this one, I need to start with the -18. So -18 subtract 6 goes on the bottom because those are the x values. So be consistent with what you start with and make sure that you continue that pattern. All right, 2 minus 2 is 0. -18 minus 6, the signs are the same. So we add and we keep the sign of the bigger number. And really, all that doesn't matter because 0 divided by any number is always 0. Okay, so 0 is my slope. And I got it right. Okay, these next just require one question. It's a quick review. We did it on quizzes today, and it's just whether or not it's a function. You just need one question. So as soon as you get a check mark, you can go to the next section. And I really think this Delta Math assignment is a lot more straightforward than the lesson. Let me go ahead and do an example. Okay, I put it here. That's not what I want. There we go. So for those of you that did not opt to do the Delta Math, then this was the submission, and I'm choosing to do the second one. So you'll do the first 13, okay, after I show you an example here. And so it actually asked us in the questions prior, nope, sorry. below, draw a straight line through the points, then draw one right triangle above the graphed line between points F and E. Draw a second right triangle below the graphed line between points G and E. You are going to want to use maybe paint or some drawing tool. And that's why I offered an alternate assignment, because when I was doing this first video, I was trying to draw a straight line and I just couldn't do it because the computer screen and the mouse, I just couldn't make it work. And so I didn't want this to be difficult for you. I wanted it to be easy. And so find a way for you to draw those lines. When you do, it will look like this. Here's just one example. So it says between points F and E, which is here and here. So what you need to do is do the rise and the run. So either you start with E and go to F, or you start with F and go to E, either way, but you need to draw just like we did on Delta Math, right? But you're just drawing it in on your worksheet or on your paper if you printed it out. Okay, so as you're drawing that, you're gonna be asked to count it. So we might as well count it now. The rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the rise is 7, the run is 2. Okay, but take a look. If your skier guy is over here on the left, he's going to be skiing down the mountain. So this should be a negative. So whether you start with F or E, one of those, either the rise or the run, are going to be negative. Okay, so there's your first triangle with the rise and the run. It says draw a second triangle. This is number 14 on this assignment, by the way, that I'm reading. Draw a second right triangle below the graphed line between points G and E. So G and E is this one. And so you need to go all the way down for the rise and to the right to G. Okay, you could also choose to go up and to the left. Either way, you will get the same slope. So I'm going to use what's drawn here. I've gone down 14. So my 14, or my negative 14, is my rise because I'm falling down. So down 14, and then we're going to the right 4, which is a positive 4. So negative 14 over 4 would be that slope. All right, so once you have it drawn, that was number 14. 15 says determine the rise. So 15, the rise of this one and the rise of this one, we already talked about. They're there for you on the screen. They just want you to put that as your answer for number 15 and make sure you label it like this on your graph. Same thing for the run. Make sure you label the run as positive 2 here, positive 4 here. Okay, so 14, 15, and 16 are all on this graph now. So this is what your end result should look like when you've done 14, 15, and 16. Is the function increasing or decreasing? How do you know? All right, so let me show you. Whoopsie. Oh, I exited out of it. Let me go back. Let me show you one answer that you can use. Okay, you can say the line points down and right. I am great with also, if you're using the terminology from class, from our live class, if you want to say, if you want to draw a little skier guy right here and show that he's going down the ski slopes, left to right, that would be fine. But if you don't have a skier guy, then you could just say something to the effect of, it's going down as you go to the right, or it's going down and right. Okay, so we already verbally talked about this, but 18 and 19 says find the slope as a unit rate of the triangle between points F and E. So if you look back up, here was your F and E triangle. So the slope is always rise over run. So you're going to put -7 over the run of 2. So if you go down, you see -7 divided by +2 is -7 over 2. It's already reduced. Okay, so for 19, you need to have the work shown for this one because this one will reduce. The rise was -14. The run was 4. So -14 over 4. So for this one, I need to see that you put -14 over 4. And then when you cut those in half, right, they'll both divide by 2 because they're even. When you reduce that fraction, it's -7 over 2. So they both have the same slope. And so that's what 20 is going to ask you. Does the slant of the graphed line correspond to the sign of the calculated slope? And we're really just looking at, was the slope positive? Was the slope negative? Okay, we had a negative slope here. And so if you look up here, it is going down to the right, which is a negative slope. Okay. Their explanation was the sign of the calculated slope is negative and the line points up and left. Okay. I don't love that explanation, but it's acceptable. I think you're probably going to more think of the slope is going down and the slope is negative. So that matches. So that one, I don't love the explanation. So I would prefer you say whatever you think of first and not fill in exactly what I have. But if the slope is negative, it should be going down to the right. All right, number 21. I did want to do this for you because we haven't talked a lot about this actually at all. So this would have been a prior year that you talked about similar triangles. And so similar versus congruent. So real quick lesson there. Similar versus congruent. Congruent triangles are exactly the same. All right, let's say the sides are 3, 4, and 5, and this side is 3 and 4 and 5. They are exactly the same. Similar triangles could be different, like 3, 4, 5, and 6, 8, 10. Those are not exactly the same, but they're similar. Why? Because they're both right triangles, and each side here was multiplied by 2. 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10, right? So the sides are proportional. And so since we're really mostly talking about slope, you're not going to know what the hypotenuse is. You're going to know the rise and the run. 4 over 3 and 8 over 6. So 4 over 3 and 8 over 6. If you reduce 8 over 6, it becomes 4 over 3. And so if your slopes are the same, you will have similar triangles that are created. Okay, I hope that helps. I do want to encourage you to choose Delta Math because I think there's a lot less explaining and there's just more practice with the practical applications of slope. But you can choose either one. And what you're going to do is submit. So let me go back and show you. All the way at the bottom here. Okay, this was the document. So for you, you're going to click the plus button that should be located right here, and you will upload your document. If you did Delta Math, if you will upload a screenshot that you completed it, then that will work, or you can just hop in my classroom and let me know. All right, good luck, guys. Come in if you need me.